Good evening and welcome. We apologize for starting this meeting a few minutes late. I will call this meeting to order. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, you have an agenda in front of you. I would like to amend that agenda so that I could make an announcement that would come at the beginning of number 5. Could I have a motion to approve that amended agenda, please? Thank you, Chair Barrett. All those in favor? Thank you. We have all of these people in this room are extremely special. But there is one person that we need to recognize tonight, and her name is Sally. Sally is a student trustee. But Sally is being recognized. She is going to represent all student trustees in the province next year. And it's to the best of our knowledge that this is the first time that a Durham student has represented us in that way. So I'm thinking they made a very wise choice because you are such a capable student trustee. So Sally, we're saying congratulations, and I'm going to ask Trustee Forbes to make a presentation on our behalf. Congratulations, Sally. Why she's being recognized. I apologize. She is going to be the student leader for all trustees in the province. President of Oxtake, the Ontario Student Trustees Association. So I apologize for that. Well done. Moving on to our first presentation, annual report from Superintendent Mundy.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Morton. This report is found on pages 1 to 4 and provides information on the activities of the engagement portfolio for the 2018-2019 school year. Engagement works with the Parent Involvement Committee, Parents as Partners Committee, and other departments and schools to provide resources and workshops for parents and guardians to improve student outcomes and build public confidence. The annual Parent Involvement Committee report and program brochure is provided for you in your package. Our presentation tonight highlights some of the events for parents that have increased their skills and knowledge to support the success of their children and also build stronger relationships within our school communities. Unfortunately, the Parent Involvement Committee co-chairs were unable to attend tonight, but we have Jason Rodman, Principal of Goodwood Public School and co-chair of the Parents as Partners Committee, to lead our presentation. We also welcome Mona Russell, a teacher from Maxwell Heights Secondary School, who is accompanied by a number of student leaders to share their involvement with the Parents as Partners Symposium and the impact that that had on other school activities. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair, Trustees, Director Miller, and Senior Team. We are pleased to have the opportunity to share the DDSB initiatives from the school year of 2018 and 2019 that have occurred to engage parents and guardians. One of the 6 DDSB priorities is engagement. Parents are vital partners in the education of our students. As we know, research indicates that there is a direct connection between parent engagement and improved student achievement, positive attitude at school, higher graduation rates, and school attendance. The Parent Involvement Committee is comprised of trustees, parents, community representatives, and DDSB staff. The PIC meets 4 times a year and engages in discussion and planning to support parent engagement throughout the Durham District School Board. You can see from our annual report that the PIC has been actively involved in supporting all of the DDSB core priorities. Key events have included recognizing our volunteers at our annual Volunteer of Distinction, sharing information and supporting school community councils through 3 regional SCCs, and assisting the Parents as Partners Symposium. The Parents as Partners Symposium is held each year. This year, our theme was Igniting Inquiry, Imagination, and Innovation. The symposium included interactive workshops for parents and students. Our keynote speaker, Michael Furyk, shared strategies of how global competencies help to ensure that all our students develop the knowledge, skills, and characteristics to become personally successful and actively engaged citizens. Parents and adults attended 2 workshops following the keynote. These included presentations on the various pathways after secondary school, STEM at home, use of adaptive software, training sessions for parents to support their children with Chromebooks, as well as workshops on well-being and self-regulation. These sessions were supported and presented by several of the departments of the Durham District School Board. Between the workshops, families were invited to mingle and connect with our carousel of over 20 community partners. The students attended structured workshops that included an inflatable planetarium, interactive art led by artist Jordy Leishman, mad science activities, drumming, as well as a series of interactive STEM activities led by the students of Maxwell Heights. At this point, I'd like to introduce teacher Mona Russell from Maxwell Heights and 2 of her students, Abika Saliha and Aruka Saliha, to share their innovative ideas and how they created STEM workshops for students at the Parents as Partners Symposium.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mona Russell, teacher coordinator for STEM at Maxwell Heights Secondary High School. I'd like to invite my STEM leaders, student leaders from Maxwell to So STEM at Maxwell began because of the student leaders and the high need to engage them in an innovative, collaborative learning space. So it's been a very fruitful couple of years when they organized a lot of STEM activities for our whole school, and we are thankful that they could share their knowledge and their talents for Parents as Partners Symposium. So I present to you Abika Salia and Aruka Salia to give you the snippets of our STEM.
Hello, my name is Aruka Salia, and this is Abika Salia, and we are both grade 11 executives from Maxwell Heights Secondary School STEM Club. And so this past year has been monumental for our STEM Club as we were able to achieve many accomplishments within a short period of time. This year, Maxwell Heights hosted the DDSB Parents as Partners Symposium on April 13th, 2019 that helped ignite inquiry, imagination, and innovation. The students in the STEM Club were responsible for recruiting student volunteers for the event, creating posters, and promoting the event at Maxwell. Additionally, students were also given the opportunity to plan workshops for junior and intermediate students and administer these workshops during the event. Some of the workshops conducted include pH and viscosity, flame, viruses, milk, and static electricity labs, as well as Xbox coding. Some students were also given the opportunity to collaborate with UIT representatives and other board members. Communication is a crucial aspect of any project, and this initiative was no different. When planning and organizing the Parents as Partners initiative, we had daily meetings where the STEM committee discussed new goals and ideas in regard to planning the event and each individual workshop. Ultimately, our goal was to ensure that all aspects of the event were planned thoroughly, including time, location, and materials. This helped to ensure that the day ran smoothly. Aside from the Parents and Partners event, the students in STEM were also given the opportunity to work with UIT students and research solar fuel cells. The students visit UIT twice a week and are exposed to research technologies and procedures. This experience helps enrich their understanding of alternate renewable energy, as well as allows them to work in a professional atmosphere. At the event, students were also given the opportunity to explore the planet with astrophysicist Chris Vaughn from Star Labs. Students gathered in a dome with 360 projectors and were able to directly experience astronomy, geology, history, and biology, allowing for a hands-on opportunity to expand on topics discussed in class. This was effective in engaging students in the 21st century learning styles, as it allowed them to apply their knowledge from previous courses through a visual and tactical experience. Maxwell's team of 6 students were also victorious in the DDSB STEM competition surrounding United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, which is a blueprint into achieving a better and more sustainable future. The competitors were asked to solve 4 challenges in sustainability, which were all connected to practical examples. Concepts within the curriculum were perfectly incorporated to sustainability, allowing for an enriching opportunity. Before we end, we would just like to thank the administration team at Maxwell Heights, including Ms. Bain, Mr. Syfox, Ms. Samara, and Ms. Fletcher, as well as all of our teacher advisors, including Mr. Tang, Mr. Demoglu, and Mrs. Niles, and lastly, Ms. Russell, for being such an amazing support system. Ultimately, this opportunity has allowed us students to recognize the importance of the STEM fields and its role in providing a sustainable future. Thank you.
We know that school-based events can meet the needs of individual families. We are excited to share a video that highlights 4 different school-based engagement initiatives. We will share part 1 tonight, showcasing 2 schools, Coronation Public School and A.G. Bell Public School.
The Durham District School Board values the role that parents play in their child's education. We know that when parents are actively involved in schools with their students, students benefit and success is greater. The School Community Council provides a key connection between the community and the school, working collaboratively with school principals and vice principals and school teams. They plan events that support greater parent engagement. This video will highlight 4 different Durham District School Board schools, their initiatives that were involved in creating positive parent engagement activities for their individual communities.
Our School Community Council applied for a Parent Reaching Out grant in order to be able to attract more of our parents into our school. So we really were looking for parents to engage in their child's learning so that they would come in, see what they're learning, and be able to apply some of those same skills at home.
So we recently did a kindergarten activity where we talked about counting principles, and that's something that we focused on in our kindergarten hub with our family of schools. So the parents came into our library first, and we put on a PowerPoint presentation going over all of our different counting principles and what we're currently teaching in the classroom. After the presentation, the parents went to the classrooms, and they were able to participate in 3 different math games that we actually took from our new Mathology resource. And they were able to have that opportunity to play with their children and observe the different counting principles that we just talked about in the library.
And as a parent, we really enjoyed the engagement sessions. We took the tools that they showed us and have taken them home. My son actually enjoys counting everything now.
Back in April, we had our program morning. We called it our Minga morning. So we put together a day specifically for the purpose of parent engagement. We wanted to really have them see what 21st century learning looks like. We wanted to give them an opportunity to visit students' classrooms, and we wanted them to be able to take part in some activities with their children.
It's community coming together to help each other. And that was the strong focus of it. So getting our community coming together to understand that we have the school community, and we're working together, and we want the school to be successful, and we want all our kids to be successful.
one of our big focuses for our Minga morning was linking to one of the 6 core priorities in equity. And what we wanted to really look at was how each of our identities would bring greater strength and culture and a sense of belonging for all of our community members. And that was one of our big focuses that would then be a link to stronger engagement with all of our community members.
The Durham District School, thank you. That's our report, and we welcome any questions.
Trustee Forbes.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. I had the pleasure of attending the Parents as Partners Symposium with several of our trustees and participating with Director Miller, kind of surprising some of the Maxwell students with by taking part in the, I remember the milk and the static electricity in particular. They were fascinating. I was just wondering, are there plans to continue to leverage digital to maybe for parents who have mobility or transportation issues for some of these larger centralized symposiums or presentations?
So as we're planning with the engagement strategic plan and looking at that, we will certainly consider how we can engage families in our remote communities, ensure that everyone has access. And we've talked about looking at how we can create modules or videos so that parents can access the information outside of the event. And that was part of the idea of the video today.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to compliment the students that came forward. I am always so thrilled to see students that are involved and student leadership, because I think that is the best way to change teaching and to change learning. And student ideas are so fantastic because oftentimes they think outside the box. So I'm looking at a lot of the amazing stuff that happened and thinking how amazing it is to have an indoor planetarium and to do things like that. And I'm just hoping that that leadership is spreading from that core group and spreading to all of the schools. So congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to say thank you to the students who worked so hard on all of the workshops that were held that day. It was remarkable. It was really, truly impressive, and the teachers who helped them through that process. I think what I would like to know is whether we have a plan to increase participation, generally speaking. I thought the numbers were somewhat small in relation to what an incredible event it was, and so to me it seems like we have to come up with a strategy for making sure more people understand how really interesting it is.
So when we met with the Parents as Partners committee after and debriefed the event, that was obviously one of the discussions because there was so many great things happening. And so we're looking at a number of factors to consider as we plan for next year.
I also want to commend all of those students and staff members who participated in these events and made them happen. And I see a number of administrators here today. I saw 2 from Maxwell Heights, and I know that they were very busy preparing for April the 13th. So to everyone, thank you for being here, and thank you for that level of engagement. Thank you, Heather Munday. Moving on. Moving on, we would ask Superintendent Mohammed Hamid to tell us a little bit about the Indigenous History Month.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. The report can be found on page 5 of your package. June is National Indigenous History Month. This year, National Indigenous History Month marks its 10th anniversary. It follows passing of the unanimous motion in the House of Commons in 2009, creating what was then known as National Aboriginal History Month. We are all treaty people, and today we will see examples of actions that the Indigenous Department has undertaken to support the implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action for educators. We engage in this learning with our Indigenous elders, our knowledge keepers, and community members as essential partners. To speak about the work that has been happening in the DDSB supporting Indigenous education, please join me in welcoming Michelle Evans, the Indigenous Education Facilitator, Jennifer Henderson, the Indigenous Education Coach. Michelle and Jennifer will also introduce 4 of our DDSB students who will bring forward their experiences as part of our Indigenous Leadership and Pathways Exploration Gathering.
Bonjour, Nangwaga Nang Indigenous Kos, Nagik Dodem, and Anishinaabe Métis and Dao. Forgive me, I'm a little nervous, so I'm going to read. So I'm Michelle Evans, and this is Jennifer Henderson. Thank you for including us in this evening's events. We'd like to share a few of the highlights of the events that have been happening in schools. In the year that we've been working with knowledge keepers, community members, teachers, and Indigenous youth. As we honor and celebrate Indigenous History Month, throughout the month of June, schools will be focusing on the learning of treaty education, residential schools, true Indigenous history, and contributions of Indigenous people, both past and present. Resources have been shared with all schools to support lesson delivery, social justice exploration, and inquiry-based learning. On June 6th, Quinoa Indigenous Employee Network, in partnership with the Indigenous Education Department, will be hosting the annual Indigenous Student Celebration Day, and on June 19th, we will be hosting an Indigenous Community Appreciation Feast for our Indigenous community partners who have supported the work in schools this year and the educators they have worked alongside. Tonight, we will be sharing the impact of 2 key initiatives, Indigenous culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy projects, and the Indigenous Student Leadership and Pathways Exploration Gathering, which took place May 21st to 24th. We brought our replica Tuwo Wampum as well for you. When you look at the Tuwo Wampum, you'll see that the 2 purple sections, they look kind of black here, they don't cross over. Jessica and Bobby spoke about this with some of you in November. The projects and initiatives we support within Indigenous education follow the basic concepts as outlined in the Tuwo Wampum. 1 row signifies the work we do to support reconciliation in schools as students and educators engage in learning about Indigenous history, perspectives, and current issues, build relationships with Indigenous peoples, and hopefully become allies who engage in inquiry, critical thinking, and social justice. The 2nd row signifies the work we engage in with Indigenous youth, connecting youth to each other, Indigenous community members, and supports that reflect Indigenous pedagogies and our knowledge systems. Indigenous culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy projects support schools as they embrace reconciliation and implement the updated social studies, history, and grade 10 world studies curriculum. Currently, we have 25 schools participating, 19 elementary and 6 secondary. Each team includes 3 to 5 teachers and an administrator. Participating schools have committed to 2 years of learning and leading Indigenous education in their schools. All Indigenous culturally relevant responsive teams work in partnership with the Indigenous Education Department as we provide ongoing opportunities for mentoring, coaching, co-planning, and co-teaching in all participating schools. Schools have participated in Indigenous cultural competency training and a variety of individualized school-based professional learning activities such as book clubs, lunch and learns, staff meeting presentations, and schools have welcomed numerous Indigenous guests to support and guide the learning. I would now like to introduce our colleagues who are way behind us. Norman G., there we are, come on up. We have Norman G. Powers, Rachel Cosford, Sally Jane Dickens, and Carrie Hantler.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Cosford, and As she said, we're teachers at Norman G. Powers. When we first began discussing our goal for our CRRP project, we started with the land acknowledgement. At our school, we begin our day acknowledging the land that we are on. The students stand up before O Canada and listen to it being said over the PA system. We think that it's really important that both students and teachers understand why we should respect this practice and understand what the land acknowledgement means. So this is where our journey began. And we know that authentic voices are the most powerful and engaging people. So after our initial discussion, my principal suggested that we devote an entire staff meeting and invite my dad, whose name is Roger Daybutch, to come and share his story. He is an elder from Mississauga, 8 First Nation, and a residential school survivor. His story is both tragic and painful to hear, not only for me, but anyone who listens to his story. But it's not only a story of sadness, but also a story of bravery and resilience. It is a story that I think everybody needs to hear. It is through these authentic voices that we learn firsthand our history. It doesn't really get much powerful than that. So I'm grateful to our Indigenous department for helping make that happen.
As we expected, our staff was deeply impacted emotionally by Roger's story. They were motivated to learn more. And from these professional development opportunities, teachers felt a sense of responsibility to share their learning with their students and other teachers. We've been so fortunate to have been offered so many authentic professional development opportunities offered by the Indigenous Department, as well as the opportunity by our principal, Nazneen Dindar. Our community partners have been an invaluable source for knowledge, help, and support. Chimigwech to them.
Just a few words about some of the slides, the pictures that you'll see here. We had 2 members of our Haudenosaunee community come into our school to do some social dancing, and our one of our grade 4 classes got the opportunity to learn a few social dances. And Rachel had the opportunity to create a replica of the Dish with One Spoon wampum belt. And then we had a gifting assembly at our school where Rachel gifted the Dish with One Spoon wampum to both Sally and myself to use as a resource for our school, for all of the teachers to use as they teach our students about the wampum belt and the significance behind the promises and the agreements that came with wampum belt exchanges. So the impact that this learning has had on ourselves and our staff has also had a strong impact on our students at NGP and, in turn, their families. In my grade 4 class, we start each day with a community circle, and I recently asked them what they have learned this year from the different Indigenous-related discussions that we have covered. Hearing their responses, and you can see some of them up on the screen, it was obvious that they are engaged and they are enthusiastic about sharing their learning with others and with their families. And I can speak on behalf of other classes as well and say that the engagement and understanding of Canada's true history is encouraging. Through class discussions on the land acknowledgement and learning about treaty rights and the significance of wampum belts, we as a staff will continue to build on our youth's energy and their desire to understand the true history. Thank you for this opportunity for us to share our journey with you.
Ani Bojo, Jennifer Henderson, Indigenous Cause, Oshawa Donjaba, Anishinaabe Kwayandao. Hi there, I'm Jennifer Henderson. I'm the Indigenous Education Coach for secondary here at Durham District School Board. I have the privilege to work with Indigenous youth, and it's a profoundly impactful experience. We're going to share tonight about our Indigenous Student Leadership and Pathways gathering. The Indigenous Leadership and Pathways gathering took place from May 21st to May 24th. 40 Indigenous students from Durham District School Board participated. It was co-designed with input from Indigenous students, from Indigenous community partners, and also from the DDSB Indigenous Education Advisory Circle. Programming was culturally relevant and responsive to traditional land-based practices essential for Indigenous student leadership, and exposed students to post-secondary pathway opportunities. Students were provided with experiences that allowed them to deepen their understanding of identity and sense of belonging as they connected with elders, knowledge keepers, and Indigenous resources that were available at 2 post-secondary institutions, Fleming College and Trent University. Students toured and experienced programs at both post-secondary campuses, including culinary arts and health sciences. I would now like to introduce you to some of the students who attended our gathering this year, and say thank you to them for showing up for us. We're so grateful. Miigwech. So Reggie, you're going to speak first. Reggie's going to talk about the value of the post-secondary experience.
Okay. I am also going to read from my phone.
Aside from the Indigenous teachings, the main takeaway for the trip for me is the hands-on college experience. At our schools, we get a lot of different talks about the colleges and their programs and what post-secondary school will be like, but we never get a real look at what college life is like for the real students. We get the formal or business type presentations, so telling you about the actual presentation side. But while staying on campus and interacting with the staff and students, it helps cement the image of the real college experience. I also enjoyed the integration of the Indigenous culture into the school itself. When we visited Fleming, they had an entire room dedicated to being a safe space for Indigenous students, an active on-campus teepee, and Indigenous culture all over the campus. That's important to me because school and Indigenous culture has always been very separated, and to see the two blending naturally is beautiful. To see that, and it showed, wait, okay, sorry, I messed it up. See the two blending, so naturally is beautiful to see and show me that there is a bright future for Indigenous students to come. And that's all I have. Thank you.
So now Dylan's going to speak about why students should continue to have this opportunity to attend this type of gathering in the future.
Gray, Delawisi Dylan, Walario Watasi, Tammy Wetapexin, Acadia First Nation, Tawiju, Nova Scotia. So for myself, being able to attend camp allowed me to express my culture, my history, and traditions that have been taken away from me. Being able to participate in these, being able to learn and experience such a welcoming and spiritual furthering community. Spiritually and emotionally, camp was just what I needed to be able to continue to feel empowered by my own history and my own heritage. So, miigwech.
Next, Nick is going to share about his favorite experiences with camp.
So, experiences that I have had the opportunity to enjoy at the Indigenous gathering were medicine walkings, waking up for sunrise ceremony, viewing the petroglyphs, and hiking through fasting areas while First Nations drumming. These activities stood out to me as an Indigenous student because I got to experience and enjoy my culture.
And we asked 2 students to sum up their camp experiences in one word. And so Megan's going to sum up her experience in one word, followed by Lauren.
Can I speak now? Sure. Okay. Hi. If I could sum up camp in one word, it would definitely be short. I felt that there wasn't enough time to learn about everything that I wanted to. And for me, especially, I didn't know anything about my background or my culture. And being given that opportunity, I really wanted to extend it a good another week just to be able to answer all of my questions and learn so much more about myself for a place I truly fit in.
Hi. So for one word that I could sum up my camp experience would be refreshing, because it's not very often that we all as Indigenous students get to get away from school and spend a few days together and learn in a safe environment, which I really feel that was. And like Megan said, I wish we had a little bit more time, because everybody there is just so nice and inclusive, and I wish everything was like that, but thanks.
Thank you very much for listening to our presentation. Miigwech.
Thank you. That is our report. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, and I'm confident that there will be lots of comments. Trustee Barnes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for presenting that. I was almost in tears just listening to the students speak, because they really speak to identity and feeling like you belong and being validated. And I'm very proud of the work that has been done, and I support you in every way going forward, because just seeing the joy on their faces and just the wonder of belonging and feeling in touch with your culture, I think is beyond words. So thank you very much.
Miigwech, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for sharing all your personal stories to all the staff and students who shared your personal stories. I have the privilege of sitting on the Indigenous Advisory Committee, where I heard a lot of these stories before, but it's even more just mind-blowing to hear it from the students themselves and hear how much they appreciate it. And there's no question I have, but I'm truly thankful that we're moving towards more truth reconciliation, that you guys are sharing all the great work that you're doing. So thank you, Miigwech.
Thank you. I have a comment first and then a question. My comment is, sometimes you don't need numbers to show you that things are working. And so I thank you for that, because I find myself up here in tears frequently. It's very strange. I'm unaccustomed to it. It's a unique experience for me, but that said everything about what you're doing and how it works, and I couldn't be more grateful. Thanks. I'm just going to keep one of these from now on. I couldn't be more grateful for you taking the time and sharing that with us, so thank you. So my question is for Superintendent Mohammed Hamid. So I understand it's Indigenous History Month, and it seems to me that that's an entirely appropriate time to recognize the importance of these programs and Indigenous culture and the contribution of Indigenous peoples, but I also think it's an important time to learn about our colonial history. Students in this board, our future leaders, should know about this history, about the impact of the history on the now. And I know that I was very personally disappointed when the Ontario government backed away from making learning about this history mandatory. I believe that it should be mandatory learning for every high school student and every elementary student. It's not enough. To me, what we're doing is not enough to talk about land acknowledgement. I understand it's important, but it's the bare minimum that doesn't bring us towards truth or reconciliation. And so this is my very long-winded way of saying, what else are we doing? What are we doing to move this from 25 schools to 106? How are we making sure that we are on that path to truth and to reconciliation?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair, and thank you for raising that very important point. And what you speak about is the foundation for the work that anchors the Equity Strategic Plan. In fact, the first priority is around the work we're doing in indigenizing our environments and starting to understand the history of colonization and some of those pieces that you mentioned. Our second operational priority speaks specifically around trying to understand how those have influenced the development of what we're seeing as sometimes disproportionality in the way outcomes are measured in our students. So looking very specifically at what the impact of some of those structures are, trying to identify what they are, and trying to be very aggressive. And I think as a district, we've been very public about our work in trying to find out where some of those challenges are and really start to identify them and really start to see that proportional outcome piece starting to reduce.
I think Director Miller would like to comment.
Thank you. Also, every school principal creates a school improvement plan, and within that school improvement plan, mandated is an equity goal. So every school is responsible for developing an equity goal, stating what it is, the action items that they're doing to work on it, and it's monitored by the superintendent. So that was something when we developed our new Ignite Learning plan that was an expectation and to be led at the school level. So you're right, expansion of this project is critical. It's just the beginning, and projects like this will help get it to all the schools, but it is the responsibility of the senior team and all the principals now for it to be in their school plans being implemented.
I just want to say that our students are in good hands because your leadership is completely awesome. So the team from Norman G. Powers, thank you for being here. I see your principal is here as well. Thank you. And to our students, I love your work. I love those comments, and perhaps next year we could work on a conference that might be a week or 10 days. That would be awesome. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. Meg Witch, to all of you. Thank you. And moving on to Maxwell Heights, the recipient of EQAO, the Education Quality and Accountability Office, the Dr. Betty Stevenson Award. So I would ask Superintendent Jamila Malia to speak to that.
Thank you. Good evening. Through you, Madam Chair, the report can be found on pages 9 through 12 of your agenda. The purpose of this report is to provide information to trustees regarding the EQAO Dr. Betty M. Stevenson Recognition of Achievement Award for 2018. The Dr. Betty M. Stevenson Recognition of Achievement program began in 2009 to recognize schools across the province for their use of data to enhance and support the progress of their students. Through this recognition, EQAO aims to assist other schools by sharing the promising practices of the schools it profiles. Criteria for the selection for this award vary each year to highlight different areas of focus in public education. This year, EQAO is celebrating schools that supported students' passion, which led to academic success in math. Over the last 3 years, an outreach team analyzed EQAO results, and Maxwell Heights Secondary School is among the 22 public schools recognized for fostering strong attitudes and improvements in math. We are very proud of Maxwell Heights Secondary School and their mathematics department for the exemplary work they have done over the past 3 years to increase math scores as well as student attitudes towards mathematics. This evening, we welcome and honor our head of mathematics, Matt Goad, and members of the math department, their principal, Kelly Boehm, and vice principals Jennifer Fletcher, Eugenia Samara, and Cloyd Syfox. On behalf of the board, please join me as we congratulate Maxwell Heights for this amazing accomplishment.
I would like to invite the staff members from Maxwell Heights, as well as the trustees from Oshawa, to meet in the center, because I think we have recognition for your accomplishments. So thank you kindly.
Stand behind.
Sorry, you can hold it? Okay. And Matt can hold it. We're a team.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Maxwell Heights. Next, we would call upon Superintendents Peterson, Lajinsky, Malia, and Hamid to tell us a little bit about an engineering outreach program.
Good evening. I will be speaking on behalf of all of us. Through you, Chair Morton, the report can be found on pages 13 to 20 of your agenda. The purpose of this report is to inform the Board of Trustees of the Ontario Tech University, formerly UOIT, Engineering Outreach Specialist, or EOS, partnership with the Durham District School Board. The focus of the EOS partnership is to build teacher efficacy in the area of STEM education and design thinking in 2 Durham elementary schools. This innovative pilot program was launched in our schools in January 2019 and is the only engineering outreach program of its kind in the province. The development of student learning of design thinking through co-developed activities allows students to see a career in STEM as a viable pathway. Together, the Durham District School Board and Ontario Tech University have set the stage for future partnered work within our DDSB schools. This evening, we welcome Michelle Suey Woods, Ontario Tech University Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science Outreach Director, Jane Kennedy, STEM Facilitator, as well as staff and students from both Northern Dancer Public School and Viola Desmond Public School.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamila. So good evening, and thank you so much for inviting me today. As Jamila noted, my name is Michelle Tsui Woods, and I'm the projects coordinator in the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science at Ontario Tech University, formerly the University of Ontario Institute of Technology. And as part of my responsibilities at the university, I am focused on experiential learning, and I'm also the director of our faculty's engineering outreach programs. And in this year, 2019, we will engage with over 30,000 youth, parents, and teachers through our programs. A great deal of our work has been spent developing strategic partnerships with school boards, community organizations, industry, and government that supports our direct-to-youth and teacher programs. And at the same time, we've placed a priority on unique partnerships and collaborations that support our ongoing desire to bring equitable and accessible STEM educational opportunities to our community. Tonight, I am so pleased to be introducing the Engineering Outreach Specialist Program, referred to as EOS. As you already know, there has been a significant societal call for action for a greater number of Canadians to pursue STEM-related employment. When we began to ask where there might be opportunities to better support this action, it became very evident that student-directed STEM programming just wasn't enough, and that we needed to find a way to also work more effectively with teachers and schools. So with support from the Ontario Ministry of Education's Innovation, Design and Implementation team, we brought our idea to the Durham District School Board in spring 2018, and as a result, this program officially began early this year. This unique partnership is unlike any other program, both provincially and nationally, because we've looked a lot to see where it exists elsewhere. And simply our goal is to increase an educator's confidence by infusing and integrating STEM education and engineering design more naturally into their everyday teaching practice. Thank you again for inviting me to speak this evening, and I'm excited for you to learn more about this project through the eyes of the teachers and their students.
So my job is to facilitate some of the ideas around why this project connects so well with the Durham District School Board's work currently. And our EOS program actually connects to all 6 strategic priorities, because when we start to develop engineering skills and design thinking skills in our students, we promote their academic success, but they're also able to see themselves as someone that might want to go on and pursue something that is STEM related. We open STEM pathways to them, and that is an equity piece as well as it is an engagement piece. We know that students love to create, to take the ideas of mind that they question naturally through inquiry, and to develop those ideas into something that is testable and perhaps also sustainable, something they could design and prototype and create. This leads them into engagement and innovation, where perhaps the minds of today are what will create the technology that we will all use in tomorrow. Our Durham STEM plan also helps us to frame this work. The inquiry design process, the orange circle that you see in the center, where we naturally wonder and create, we perform and record and we analyze, but then we draw that into engineering design, the green circle that you see, where we might need to move forward in performing and recording and analyzing and reimagining, and finally also communicating our findings. But it is nothing unless we include the arts as well, and so the blue circle is in relation to our arts-related curriculum. The innovation and creation process means that we also need to initiate and plan, but we can also be inspired, and we can challenge our thinking and our understanding. This is the critical thinking process that our engineering outreach specialist, Vanessa Ironside, uses in conjunction with students in Viola Desmond and Northern Dancer Public School. In black, you will see the portion of the STEM plan that is related to engineering design. In pink, you'll see our inquiry cycle that is normally orange. It's pink here. And finally, the arts curriculum, which is normally blue in our STEM plan, is symbolized here in green. Be inspired. Imagine, create possibilities, propose new ideas, test and define a solution, revise and reflect. It is my privilege now to introduce the teacher librarian from Viola Desmond Public School, Christina Thomas.
Good evening. What we know so far is that our teachers are interested and engaged in STEM learning. This project has encouraged an increase in teacher comfort from both the science curriculum, up from 44% to 67%, and incorporating STEM learning and especially familiarity with the engineering design process, as just explained, from 31% to 50%. These are significant increases in facilitating and engagement with STEM topics that directly benefit our students. What we did was work with our engineering outreach specialist, Vanessa Ironside, to implement STEM learning across all grades at Viola Desmond. We established links between the science curriculum and STEM learning, where students could have hands-on experience at their ability level, and then carried out these innovative lesson experiences throughout the school. We saw success and engagement through the engineering design process with all of our teachers in classes, with excitement building more and more as more teachers participated. Here, one of our primary classes was focusing on coding Dash robots through an iPad app, allowing the robot to navigate a course on its own. This lesson linked to the science curriculum in the direction and movement strand, as well as the measurement strand in math. Eliana coded her robot to complete the course successfully after a few unsuccessful tries and, as you will see, was very pleased with her result, teaching not only the curriculum expectation, but also perseverance and resilience. I'm now pleased to introduce Alina Ahmed and Kaya Semeister, two of our students who will tell you about our next slide.
We had been studying electricity and science with our teacher, Miss Goodacre and Vanessa. Vanessa posed a problem so that we could apply the design process. We needed to find a solution to the problem of how to remind yourself to unplug something when needed. We made a plan with our group.
We chose our materials, including the input, output, and connector. We started designing, building, and evaluating the changes we need to make. We applied the knowledge we had gained in class to solve the problem. We learned that while your plan doesn't always work out the way you think it might, you persevere and evaluate your work to see what changes you can make. We ended up collaborating with another team to help us solve the issues our circuit had.
We appreciated the chance to build and experiment with things like electricity while having a safe, hands-on experiences. This opportunity gave me perspective on energy conservation, and it deepened my understanding of the concept of electricity.
Next, I'd like to introduce Kelly Bourne, a grade 8 teacher from Northern Dancing who also participated in our project.
Thank you. We knew that a majority of our students feel that they learn by doing and experiencing, and they had a beginning understanding of what inquiry and the engineering design process meant. Our goal was to expose them to STEM process in ways that engaged them and supported their development as critical thinkers and problem solvers. It was important to us to ensure we were able to marry the STEM thinking process with literacy, numeracy, and science curriculum documents, and ensure our students were accountable in their learning. Over the course of the project, we collected additional assessment data that showed us our students have grown their critical thinking skills and have leveraged digital tools in meaningful ways throughout each phase of the engineering design process. This has now led to an increase in teacher engagement and openness, and students' transferable skills since the individual projects have come to a close. It is here where we see the most opportunity to continue the work. Our students in grades 2 to 8 completed school-wide surveys that focused the direction of their engineering design process plans. Inclusion and accessibility was their area of passion and interest, which fit perfectly with our vision as a school around innovation and inclusion. Here are some students in Ms. Schroer's grade 2 class learning from Marshall Holman from Grandview as part of their investigation phase of inquiry, building the knowledge that we required to ask rich questions in order to identify a problem they feel needs to be solved. The students all had the opportunity to engage with their peers, their classroom teacher, our teacher librarian, and our EOS, Vanessa, in order to explore, research, and problem solve. Each group was able to move through the engineering design process and engage in exploration of ideal versus realistic materials, digital tools, microbits, digital printing, and many more innovative resources. I'd like to introduce Athesia Vijithas from grade 7.
We created a solution to an abilities problem that a person would have. My friend's group member who has Alzheimer's, and he sometimes gets lost on his way home. We know that it's very scary to get lost, so we thought we could research about Alzheimer's and come up with a way to solve it. As we continued our project, we learned more about the struggles that a person with Alzheimer's would face. We wanted their identity to be valued and included, and so we tried to create a pin and an app as a tracker to help them when they're lost. We learned how to use multiple technological devices. This includes a website where you can make and print 3D objects called Tinkercad and Microbits. This helped us understand and adjust our prototype as we worked. We learned about problem solving, how to use tools to construct, change, and revisit a model, all to make sure it suits the end user. We improved in perseverance, growth mindset, understanding engineering principles, and using feedback. This changed our thinking about learning. Our teacher gave us a broad topic. It gave us the opportunity to look beyond the boundaries and see where we ended up. Having the flexibility and being able to think about the variables made us more open to changing direction, exploring and trying new things. We got to collaborate digitally, work with real-world technologies, and combine ideas. We used each other for resources, basically like a company. Learning through STEM and engineering design has opened us to the possibilities of how many career options are out there in the field of engineering, math, and science. Thank you.
Thanks, Athesia. And I'm now going to introduce Jennifer Bruslers and Barbara Speed.
Good evening. This EOS project has allowed us to focus on the design thinking process and STEM learning in our classrooms. The value of this is ultimately in building critical thinking skills in our students. It has provided a platform upon which to deepen both teacher and student capacity. The opportunity to collaborate with UIT has supported our teacher expertise with engineering principles that Vanessa has brought to the relationship.
It's given us the opportunity to marry the curriculum with the broader skills of engineering and design thinking. Teachers have developed leadership skills in all these areas, as you've seen tonight, as have our students, as you've seen with our student leadership examples. They all represent our staff and our students at both schools. This experience has facilitated an embedded understanding of STEM learning and engineering design principles through collaboration in our schools that will continue moving forward.
In terms of learner outcomes, our students have made connections to real-world problems, solving in tangible and meaningful ways. We believe this will inspire our students to open their minds to the possibility of a future studies in science, math, and eventually engineering.
We are grateful to have had this opportunity, and we look forward to continuing the work.
This concludes our presentation this evening, and we will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there questions? Are there comments? Trustee Barnes.
Sorry, I'm on the roll today. I'm really blown away by all the presentations that have come forward today, because they show how much learning needs to change and how much teaching needs to change. And as we're talking about this opportunity for students to have hands-on learning, I go back to the young man that spoke and talked about hearing it present, but actually being in the university and the college, the difference that it made for them, seeing real-life things come to light. And I think it's the same for these students, the opportunity to actually have hands-on learning, but also the amazing changing of teaching, that teachers have realized that the curriculum doesn't have to be so set and rigid, and that there's so many things that you can do that will enhance the learning without losing the curriculum. So I'm very thrilled about this partnership, and I hope you're already planning for expansion, because we are all planning for expansion. And it comes also for the other things that we can't teach, resilience. I don't know how many times we heard it didn't work and I had to try again, and that just teaches something that we talk about that goes back to mental health and wellness and just survive in the real world. So thank you very much for coming forward and sharing your learning with us.
And to Michelle and Jane and staff members and our intermediate students from both schools, thank you for being here, and we really appreciate that level of engagement. Thank you. Moving on, I'm going to ask the student trustees, maybe 1, 2, 3, all of you, would you like to speak? Tyler, you're going first? Perfect.
To begin our report, I'm going to start by talking about our final Student Senate meeting of the year, which was held tonight. At this meeting, our Student Voice, Equity, and Wellbeing committees met for the last time this year, unfortunately. One highlight of this included the fact that our Wellbeing Committee participated in focus groups on well-being being practiced in the DDSB. And then we also engaged in a conversation with our entire Senate around ongoing student council elections and appointments within the schools in the DDSB, and we look to support our senators in their election processes and discuss the different ways in which student council elections take place within different schools. I'll now pass it on to Sally.
Continuing on, so a few weeks ago, our Student Senate, the Wellbeing Committee, had the pleasure of helping co-facilitate the DDSB's first annual Wellbeing Conference, which brought students together to learn about how we can embed mental health practices into schools. It's also my pleasure to touch on an award one of our fellow trustees trustees earned. So this year, the Public Board Council of the Ontario Student Trustees Association Award recognized one student trustee who demonstrated dedication to improving the lives of students and dedication to excellence. This award is valued at $1,000, and it is our absolute pleasure to recognize our fellow student trustee, Roseanne Wright, who was awarded with this at the OSTA conference.
Thank you. I would like to continue on that same vein with the Ontario Student Trustee Association. So we had the pleasure of attending the OSTA-ACO annual general meeting, which is a conference that we attended last week. And there we were able to advocate on behalf of the students at the Durham District School Board to our new Education Minister, Lisa Thompson. And we really made sure that we spoke for the student views that we have encountered throughout Student Senate in light of the changes that are coming our way in education. And we also released, as an association, an e-learning survey, and that should be for students in grades 8 to 12, and that would be found online. So we do encourage you to relay that information to students. And I would also like to touch on something that we did mention already. Sally Meseret was elected president of the Ontario Student Trustee Association and will be representing all students across the province. Thank you. This concludes my report, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you to the three of you. And Roseanne, you will be receiving flowers at the next board meeting. Congratulations. Any questions, any comments?
Not a question, but I just want to thank you guys for all the work you're doing. I think our student trustees are really knocking it out of the park right now. They've been getting a lot of awards and titles, and that's really phenomenal to see the Durham board getting recognized so much. But thank you for all the work you did, and for the mental health symposium that you guys helped co-organize here. Sorry, slowing down. For the mental health symposium that you guys co-organized, it was absolutely phenomenal, and thank you for having me attend it, and thank you for all the work you guys do all year.
We do have outstanding student trustees, don't we? Let's have a round of applause for all three of them. Well done. We are so fortunate in so many ways. Trustee Donna Edwards, an OPSPA report.
Don't really have a report, as we haven't had a meeting other than that our policy and our programs committee have been busy penning responses to the various submissions to the various surveys and questions and regulations and so forth that are coming through the ministry, and that the AGM is coming up in July. Thank you.
Questions or comments for Donna? Seeing none. The next committee report is from Trustee Barnes, Equity and Diversity.
Thank you. We met on May 28th, and we had an update on the compendium for Black student success. Next steps as it's outlined in the compendium and what needs to be done. I'm magnetic. And we also had an update on the equity department around Heritage Month and resources being provided to schools in advance. Pride was June 2nd, and DDSB went out to support our students and families. CCRP kits are ongoing or in development, as well as the CCRP website is under development. There was a pre-Shabbat, did I say that right? Dinner for Jewish community and Jewish movie night for Jewish Heritage Month. We had an iftar at J. Clark Richardson with over 850 families in attendance that came out to break their fast. And we have, there was a campaign and discussion session launched about hate, and the session was held May 28 at the Education Center. That is my report, and we are adjourned until September.
Comments or questions? Seeing none. And I'm looking at our agenda, and it's only 8:15, but I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Patrice Barnes. All those in favor of adjournment? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.